There are actors who perform, and then there are those who seem to simply exist on screen, as if the roles were written around their very being. Sam Elliott belongs firmly in the latter category. His deep, steady voice and unmistakable presence have long carried a sense of calm authority, the kind that doesn't demand attention, but effortlessly commands it. Audiences have trusted him for decades, not because he is flashy or unpredictable, but because he feels real. That authenticity is what turned him into an enduring figure in Hollywood. Yet, beneath the surface of that grounded persona lies a life shaped by quiet challenges and personal reflection. His story isn't loud or dramatic in the conventional sense. Instead, it unfolds like a slow, burning narrative, one that reveals its emotional depth only to those willing to look a little closer. The making of a reluctant icon. Long before he became a recognizable face, Elliott was simply a young man with a dream that didn't quite fit the expectations placed upon him. Acting wasn't always seen as a practical path, especially within the environment he grew up in. His father, in particular, struggled to understand or support that ambition. There was a disconnect between them, not rooted in lack of love, but in differing visions of what a life should look like. That tension lingered in the background of Elliott's early years, shaping both his determination and his sense of self. He didn't push back loudly or rebel in obvious ways. Instead, he carried that doubt quietly, using it as fuel. It became part of his foundation, a silent force driving him forward even when recognition seemed far out of reach. A loss that never fully faded. The passing of his father marked a turning point that would stay with him for the rest of his life. It wasn't just grief in the traditional sense, but something more layered and complicated. There were words left unsaid, moments that never came to pass, and a sense of approval that was never fully realized. Losing someone with whom you have unfinished emotional business creates a unique kind of ache. For Elliott, that absence became something he carried rather than resolved. It shaped the way he approached both his career and his inner world. Instead of seeking validation outwardly, he seemed to turn inward, building a quiet resilience. That emotional weight didn't break him, but it did leave a mark, one that subtly influenced the depth and authenticity he brought to his roles. The long road to recognition. Success in Hollywood is often portrayed as a sudden breakthrough, but for Elliott, it was anything but immediate. His early years were filled with small parts, background appearances, and work that rarely placed him in the spotlight. It required patience, something not every aspiring actor can maintain in an industry that moves quickly and forgets even faster. He wasn't chasing fame as much as he was chasing stability, a chance to prove that he belonged. That persistence became one of his defining traits. He didn't reinvent himself drastically or try to fit every trend. Instead, he leaned into what made him unique. Over time, that consistency paid off. The industry began to recognize what audiences had already started to feel, that there was something quietly powerful about his presence. The weight of being typecast. With recognition came another challenge, one that many actors face, but few openly discuss. Elliott became strongly associated with a particular kind of role, the rugged, dependable figure rooted in Western imagery. While he excelled in those roles, they also created limitations. Being seen as one thing can make it difficult to be seen as anything else. For an actor with depth and range, that can feel like a cage, even if it's a respected one. Elliott handled this with a kind of quiet acceptance. He didn't publicly resist or complain. Instead, he refined his craft within those boundaries, finding ways to bring nuance and humanity to characters that could have easily become one-dimensional. Still, the tension between capability and opportunity remained, a subtle frustration that never fully disappeared. Moments that revealed more. Every now and then, a role comes along that allows an actor to show something deeper, something that challenges the way they've been perceived. For Elliott, those moments were significant not because they were rare, but because they were revealing. They showed that behind the familiar exterior was an emotional range that hadn't always been fully explored. When given the chance, he delivered performances that carried vulnerability, regret, and quiet introspection. These roles didn't erase his established image, but they expanded it. They reminded audiences that even the most grounded and steady figures have layers. For Elliott, these moments seemed less about proving something to others and more about expressing something that had always been there, waiting for the right opportunity to surface. The passage of time in Hollywood, longevity in any career brings its own set of emotional challenges, and Hollywood is no exception. Over the years, Elliott has watched the industry evolve in ways both exciting and bittersweet. Styles of storytelling have changed, and the kind of films that once defined entire eras have become less central. For someone so closely tied to a particular tradition, this shift carries a sense of quiet loss. It's not about resisting change, but about acknowledging what has faded. Alongside that is the reality of time itself. Friends, collaborators, and familiar faces gradually disappear, leaving behind memories and a growing sense of distance from the past. It's a natural part of life, yet it never becomes entirely easy. For Elliott, it seems to have deepened his reflective nature rather than hardened him. A life lived without loud confessions. In an age where personal struggles are often shared openly, Elliott stands apart. He has never been one to publicly dwell on his hardships or seek attention for his emotional experiences. This doesn't mean those experiences are absent. On the contrary, it suggests they are deeply felt but privately held. There is a kind of strength in that restraint, though it also comes with its own cost. Carrying pain quietly can create a sense of isolation, even when surrounded by success and recognition. Elliott's persona reflects this balance. He appears steady and composed, yet there is an undercurrent of something more complex. It's not something he explains in interviews or statements. Instead, it reveals itself subtly through the authenticity of his performances. Endurance as a defining trait. If there is one theme that runs consistently through Elliott's life, it is endurance. Not the dramatic kind that seeks recognition, but the quiet kind that simply continues. He has navigated personal loss, professional challenges, and the passage of time without losing his sense of self. That consistency is rare, especially in an industry known for constant reinvention. His career doesn't follow a pattern of sharp rises and falls. Instead, it moves steadily forward, shaped by patience and persistence. This endurance isn't just about staying relevant, it's about staying true. Elliott never seemed to chase what was popular. He focused on what felt authentic, even if it meant taking a slower path. In the end, that choice gave his career a sense of integrity that resonates deeply with audiences. The human story beneath the legend. It's easy to view someone like Sam Elliott as an icon, a symbol of a particular kind of strength and presence. But doing so can sometimes obscure the human story beneath. His life is not defined by a single dramatic event or a clear narrative arc. Instead, it is shaped by a series of quiet moments, personal struggles, and enduring choices. The loss of his father, the slow climb to recognition, the limitations of typecasting, and the emotional weight of time all contribute to a story that feels deeply human. There is no need to exaggerate or dramatize it. Its power lies in its subtlety. Elliott represents something that often goes unnoticed, the idea that strength doesn't always look like resilience in the spotlight. Sometimes, it looks like simply continuing, with grace and honesty. A legacy that speaks softly but lasts. As Elliott moves through the later stages of his life, his legacy feels less like a grand statement and more like a quiet echo. It's present in the roles he's played, the characters he's shaped, and the consistency he's maintained over decades. There is something comforting about that kind of legacy. It doesn't demand attention or insist on recognition. It simply exists, steady and enduring. His story reminds us that not all impactful lives are loud or dramatic. Some are defined by subtle strength, by the ability to carry both success and sorrow without losing balance. In that sense, Elliott stands as more than just a familiar face or voice. He becomes a reflection of something deeply relatable: the ongoing effort to navigate life with dignity, even when it carries more weight than we ever expected.